to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're plunging into the world of the Google Pixel 7 Pro. We're basing this whole discussion entirely on that stack of sources you shared with us.
Right.
Our mission, basically, to kind of navigate through all this material, cut through the jargon, and pull out the really important nuggets about this phone.
Yeah, the key details, the innovations, what makes it tick, according to these sources.
Exactly. Think of it as your express route to getting well-informed on the Pixel 7 Pro.
Okay.
Just based on what this material says. So let's dive in. What do the sources flag first? The heart of the phone.
Well, what immediately jumped out was the Google Tensor G2 chip. It seems central.
Okay.
The sources really position this not just as, a speed thing, but as the engine driving the Pixel's intelligence.
Intelligence, how so?
They describe it as like purpose-built to make the phone faster, sure, but also to significantly boost its AI capabilities and make it more efficient overall. It's presented as pretty fundamental for enabling those smarter features that, make using the phone smoother day to day.
And connected to that core chip, security comes up a lot in the sources, right?
Definitely. They introduced the Titan M2 security chip. It works hand in hand with the Tensor G2, forming what they call an integrated security foundation. The idea, as they explain it, is multiple pretty robust layers of defense. Specifically designed to keep your personal data locked down, protected right at the hardware level. It's like security baked into the phone's DNA, basically.
Got it. So that processing power, that security, how does it translate into things you actually do with the phone, like the camera? The sources seem to spend a lot of time there.
Oh, yeah, a substantial amount of attention. It definitely feels like a major focal point for the device based on this material.
Absolutely. It's described as an advanced triple lens system. You've got the main one, a high-res 50-megapixel wide-angle lens for your sort of everyday shots. Then a 12-megapixel ultra-wide, and also a pretty impressive 48-megapixel telephoto lens.
And the significance of those lenses, at least according to the sources, it's really about the range of photography they open up.
Right.
That 48-megapixel telephoto, it's not just optical zoom, though it has 5x optical zoom. It then pushes way further with something called 30x super res zoom.
30 times, wow.
Yeah, and the sources really emphasize how this lets you capture distant subjects, pull them right in without turning everything into a blurry mess. Think wildlife you can't get close to, or maybe architectural details way up high.
Okay, that makes sense. And the ultra-wide, usually that's for fitting more in, right? Landscapes and stuff.
It is, but the sources call out something specific here. Upgraded ultra-wide with macro focus.
Macro focus, so close-up.
Exactly. This feature apparently transforms that ultra-wide lens so it can capture really intricate details on tiny subjects when you get right up close.
Like what?
Oh, the texture of a leaf, the little details on an insect, maybe raindrops on a window. It lets you explore that sort of micro world.
Interesting. So it's versatile at both ends, super far and super close.
That seems to be the takeaway. But beyond the physical lenses, a lot of the camera story in these sources is actually about the software, the processing, powered by that Tensor G2 chip we mentioned.
Oh, right. Like what kind of software features?
Well, they highlight stuff like cinematic blur,
okay,
which adds that, professional-looking, shallow depth of field effect to your videos, makes the background blurry, gives it a more polished, movie-like feel.
And I saw something about skin tones. Real tone.
Yes. That's a crucial point the material makes. The sources note the Pixel 7 Pro continues Google's focus on accurately and, importantly, inclusively representing diverse skin tones in photos.
That's good. Anything else on the software side?
Yeah, there's also mention of an accessibility feature called Guided Frame.
Guided Frame?
It uses audio cues and haptic feedback vibrations to help people with low vision take selfies properly framed.
Oh, that's smart. Really practical.
And then thinking bigger picture, the sources point out some exclusive features you get through the Google Photos integration.
Like a magic eraser? I think I read about that.
Exactly. The handy tool for just, zapping unwanted objects or people out of your photos pretty easily. And also something called unblur for sharpening up photos that maybe came out a little soft.
So post-processing tools leveraging that core intelligence again.
Pretty much.
Okay, so powerful core, versatile camera system loaded with smarts. What about keeping the thing running? Battery life. What did the sources say there?
They really focus on the adaptive battery feature. The insight here, according to the material, is that it learns your specific usage habits.
How I use my phone.
Yeah, which apps you use most often when you use them.
Yep.
And it optimizes the power delivery accordingly.
And the result.
The sources state this intelligence helps the phone consistently deliver over 24 hours of usage on a single charge.
Over a full day is pretty solid.
Yeah.
But wasn't there something about even longer life? Extreme battery saver.
Yes, it was interesting to see that mentioned. They describe it as a mode that can push the battery life significantly further, potentially up to 72 hours.
72 hours. 3 days.
Potentially, yeah. But it's framed as more for emergencies or maybe times when you're completely off the grid.
Ah, there's a catch.
Well, the sources are clear that hitting that number involves disabling quite a few features they deem non-essential, including, notably, turning off 5G connectivity while you're in that mode.
Okay, so it's a trade-off for extreme longevity. A safety net, like you said.
Exactly. And complementing that potential long life, the sources do confirm the convenience of fast charging. They note support for both wired and wireless charging, so you can top up quickly when you need to.
Good to know. All right, moving from power to presentation.
Yeah.
The display, what do the sources have to say about the screen?
They describe it as, well, large and immersive. It's a 6.7-inch LTPO OLED screen.
LTPO OLED.
Right.
Okay. Any key specs mentioned?
Yep, they give the technical details. Sharp QHD plus resolution and support for a 120 Hz refresh rate.
120 hertz is nice and smooth.
It is, but what's particularly notable, according to the sources, is the smooth display feature.
What does that do?
It's clever. The system intelligently ups the refresh rate based on what you're actually doing. It can go all the way down to 10 hertz for static stuff like reading an email, then ramp right up to 120 hertz for smooth scrolling or gaming.
Right, and the reason for doing that, battery.
Exactly. The key takeaway from the sources is why it does this. It's specifically designed to balance giving you those really smooth visuals when they matter, but also conserving battery life when that high refresh rate isn't needed.
So, smart adaptation again.
They frame it as crucial for both an immersive experience and efficient power use. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the Tensor G2 and security earlier. It seems like privacy and security are recurring themes in these sources.
They definitely are. As we said, the G2 and the Titan M2 chip form that hardware security base. But the sources also highlight a software layer that's coming soon. A built-in VPN powered by Google One.
Ah, right. They did specify coming soon, didn't they? What's the promise there?
The stated intention is to protect your internet activity, give you a more secure connection across all your apps, your browser, everything.
Okay. And beyond the VPN, any other security bits mentioned?
Yeah, the sources list the more user-facing things too, like face unlock and fingerprint unlock, different ways to securely get into your phone.
Standard stuff, but good to have options.
And they also make sure to reinforce the importance of regular security updates being delivered over time to keep the device protected against new threats.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, shifting focus a bit from the tech inside to the physical device itself, the design.
Yeah.
And I think sustainability came up.
It did, yeah. This seems presented as a pretty conscious choice in the design philosophy.
How so?
The sources highlight the materials. Specifically, they mention the phone's design uses 100% recycled aluminum.
Okay. And contains up to 19% recycled content by weight overall. This is explicitly linked in the material we looked at to a commitment to environmental responsibility.
So building green, essentially. Does that impact how tough it is?
Doesn't seem like it, based on the sources. They still list features like IP68 water and dust resistance.
Meaning it can handle, like, splashes or getting caught in the rain?
Yeah, or even a quick dunk. And they also mention using Corning Gorilla Glass Victus on both the front and back for better scratch resistance.
So positioned as durable, but with an eye on its environmental footprint.
That's the message, yeah. Built to last, built more responsibly.
Okay. And finally, how does this Pixel 7 Pro fit into the rest of your digital life? Connectivity, ecosystem stuff.
The sources definitely touch on that. They emphasize right away that it's a fully unlocked 5G smartphone.
Unlocked meaning?
Meaning it's compatible with all the major carriers. The sources point this out as a benefit freedom of choice, basically. Ensures you stay connected no matter who your provider is. Gotcha. And integration with other Google stuff.
Yes, they detail its seamless integration with other Google devices and services, easy pairing with Pixel Buds, for example, or the Google Pixel Watch, and the usefulness of the Find My Device network if you happen to misplace your phone.
Right. And Assistant is probably baked right in.
Oh, yeah. The convenience of having Google Assistant deeply integrated gets a mention, too, for hands-free help with, tasks, setting reminders, getting information quickly.
And what if you're switching to this phone? Is that easy?
They specifically note that. The sources say it's pretty straightforward to transition from an old phone, Android, or even iPhone, explaining that your apps, photos, messages, contacts can all be transferred over relatively easily.
Avoiding that setup headache.
Exactly. It ties back into that broader idea of an integrated, smooth experience, which, the sources also reiterate, includes that upcoming Google One VPN service we talked about.
Okay, so let's try and pull all these threads together from the sources. We've got the Tensor G2 core driving intelligence.
Right, the versatile camera system with all those AI-powered features.
The battery designed to learn and last, that adaptive display.
Layered security, the focus on sustainable materials and durability.
And the seamless ecosystem connectivity. Looking at all that, what's the sort of core message the sources are trying to convey? Why do they position the Pixel 7 Pro as, well, significant, or maybe even a game changer, as some put it?
Based purely on the material provided, the real consistent theme seems to be the synergy between all these parts, all driven by that Tensor G2 chip.
Synergy.
Yeah, it's not just presented as a list of features, but how that intelligence kind of permeates everything. It enhances the photos, it optimizes the battery, it powers the security features.
I see.
So the sources suggest it's this specific combination, a next-gen processor enabling what they call revolutionary camera tools and AI features, paired with really practical benefits like genuinely long battery life, a strong focus on privacy and security, plus that deliberate move towards sustainability and deep ecosystem integration that makes it stand out from whatever else they were comparing it to.
Right. And that pretty much wraps up our deep dive into the Google Pixel 7 Pro, based specifically on the material you shared with us.
Yeah, we've tried to pull out the key details, the highlights that were presented in those sources.
Covering everything from that foundational processing power and the really interesting camera system to the battery, the display tech, security, design choices, and how it all connects together.
Hopefully giving you a clear picture of what your sources emphasized as the most important aspects of this particular device.
Exactly. And as you mull over all this information, again, drawn directly from that stack of material, you provided this picture of a phone blending advanced AI, sophisticated photo tools, a focus on privacy, and even environmental impact. Here's maybe a final thought to leave you with. How might a smartphone built on these specific principles, as described in these sources, potentially change or enhance the way you personally capture memories, manage your day, or just navigate the whole digital landscape, maybe in ways you haven't even fully considered yet?